Hi, pal.
How's it going?
Good new.
Good week.
Very good week. We're not going to say it again, but yeah, been a cool week. Had a cool morning. Actually, got to go do some engine runs on a very, very fancy MD-87.
I saw the photos that you posted there.
Yeah,
Yourself and Jarvie looking snazzy in the back there, like a
king.
I was going to say like a cat.
Yeah, very cool. Definitely one of the best aeroplanes around, an MD-87, and in VVIP trim, doesn't get much better than that.
Very cool, eh? What's the flight deck like in that thing?
Yeah, nice. Very cool. Yeah, nicely laid out. Look, the MD, everything was a little bit haphazard in there, but it's nice. And but the cabin, man,
Yeah.
on another level.
Shucks.
Yeah, really nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, so nice to jump back into an aircraft, even if it is just for a taxi across to the run-up bay. It still gives you that same
Sort of
feeling
rush,
and vibe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And going through a checklist before start in when you're actually starting engines is different to when you're in the sim.
Yeah.
So,
in the sim, you're like, if you cock it up, well,
yeah, whatever.
just hit restart. Yeah.
But no, so it was very cool.
Come to think of it, you mentioned that that's the one thing I actually miss a bit, is the smell of burning jet fuel.
Yeah, nothing quite like it, eh?
Yeah.
Particularly when it's a JT8 engine and one of those proper old school engines when you can actually smell. Yeah, very nice. Bit of a hive of activity around Denell. Lots of aircraft around and quite a lot of movements. I saw quite a few fancy aircraft taxiing around there today.
Yeah, look, I think it's probably got a lot to do with Fireblade around the corner.
Yeah.
But I also noticed that today there's quite a lot going on. It's almost like a bit of a cleanup operation. I wonder if it's got anything to do with this whole Denell AXA
story,
sort
yeah.
of, Denell all of a sudden saying, hey, we are here.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know.
Speculating.
But there was a lot of aircraft taxiing around and they weren't banged out old CRJs and that. They were proper aeroplanes. So
Nice.
quite nice to see. But a lot of news this week, and I suppose we can jump right in, as we normally do, to the local news. Condor did their first flight to Johannesburg the other day. Nice welcome. Fire trucks were out, everyone to greet them. So that's going to be a twice weekly Joburg service on a Saturday morning. Yeah, that's from Frankfurt, eh, pal?
Yeah, Frankfurt.
Departs there 7:15 in the evening on Tuesdays and Saturdays and arrives 5:30 in the morning the next day.
Nice.
So another option there, which is good.
Yeah, it's cool to have a bit of a extra option between here and Germany.
I thought they were going to bring one of their new, that crazy loop sort of color scheme.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Pretty whack, eh?
Yeah. They're all different colors, I believe. Eh? It's not like, kind of a nice thing there. But, so another option there to go to Europe. Kind of nice. Virgin Atlantic, they are back in Cape Town. So they relaunched direct flights between Cape Town and London Heathrow on November the 5th. And, couldn't come a moment too soon. Those Heathrow flights are jam-packed.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Apparently, even the sort of the Qatars and Emirates flights from South Africa, obviously using Doha and Dubai as a hub. The Dubai Heathrow, they're all using, obviously, Emirates on the 380, but Qatar as well, 380s full.
Yeah. I read that British Airways are even starting up 380 flights again between, was it Los Angeles? But anyway, but the demand is there so much so that 380s are just, there's probably not enough of them around.
Yeah, quite crazy, eh?
Yeah.
To think that. But, nice to see so many of them flying around. Even here in Johannesburg, driving to work on the odd time, you see that 380 come overhead.
Yeah.
Awesome things. Plet Airport, when last were you there?
No, long time ago.
They're in Cuck, apparently.
Again.
Yeah.
Haven't they just revamped that up? I mean, Semi had a hand in that.
Yeah, they did. This came Plettenberg Bay News. The B2 Council considering the future of Plettenberg Bay. as it has become a burden that runs at a financial loss.
Okay.
So, yeah, well, I suppose Semi are the only people that fly in there. I'm sure Miles will try and buy the airport.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. But I mean, I think they had a large hand in getting that whole airport up to spec. Because they lost their aerodrome operating license. They weren't allowed to.
Something like that, yeah.
All that nonsense. But yeah, so it's strange because there's, as far as I know, quite a bit of traffic to Plet. It's a popular destination. Why would it be a burden?
Yeah, it's
only a burden if someone's not getting a bit of a kickback
something on the side. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a popular destination, and you would think coming up to this time of the year,
of course,
those flights must be chockers.
Yeah,
and I'm sure with a bit of DF, they can run that nicely like a proper business and make some money out of it. I don't see why not.
Yeah.
There was you would have liked the article in Moneyware, Bryan, your favorite airline, SAA. I'm not going to go into it again because, yeah, we've probably dug into SAA a bit too much over the past month, but this article made me chuckle. SAA stuck in a bygone era, and the guy goes on to write, but it's quite funny talking about the seats, brown, and more brown, and it was, anyway, I'll leave it in the show notes, give it a bit of a read, but this guy digs into SAA heavy, saying, how can these guys even think they're going to compete with someone else? So it might be quite a few of our listeners, I think, will enjoy that article. So, yeah, have a look in the show notes there. I found it quite funny. It's quite humorous.
I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah. Big news this week, Ryan, and incredibly sad, was that plane crash.
Yeah, the Precision Air ATR in Tanzania, man.
Yeah.
Incredibly sad. But the whole of East Africa was plagued with bad news this week. We obviously got the crash. There was another crash, a fatal one, in Eastern DRC in Goma, late 14. I don't know if you saw that. Those guys also sea-fitted into a mountain, and then obviously, well, I suppose we'll get into it later, but the pilot strike. So East Africa
going through
a bit of a rough patch.
Yeah, this Precision Air flight really sort of hit home because actually spoke to that captain not so long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and very, very nice man. And you just, what do you say? I mean, we'd never speculate on a show like this as to what happened because there's going to be a proper investigation and then we'll find out. But, you know, whatever the case is, it's just incredibly sad for Precision Air, their families and friends and all the rest. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, our heartfelt condolences to them all. And, yeah, man, I was pretty bust up about that because, like you say, I actually spoke to that captain literally about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
What a wonderful guy. Nice team that from Precision Air. So
yeah, good bunch of people. So yeah, that certainly took up the majority of the aviation news this week in Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, should we shift across to something a bit more upbeat? I laughed at this one. A Jet 2 flight from Canary to Manchester.
Yeah.
They diverted so that passengers could go to the toilet.
I actually saw that headline. Yeah. What was it about?
Yeah, so Gran Canaria to Manchester, they diverted. The toilets were US. Both toilets were US on board. And the Airbus 321 had a normal flight pattern to begin with, heading over the Atlantic towards southern Portugal and then west of Spain. However, just before it reached the Bay of Biscay on Spain's northern coast, the plane carrying about 200 passengers turned sharply east and landed in Bilbao because the passengers needed the toilet. What do you do? What do you do? Yeah, I had a bit of a chuckle at their spokesman though afterwards. So the spokesman says, as an award-winning airline, the comfort and well-being of our customers is of paramount importance to us. However, we apologize if this caused any inconvenience. So it's like, the comfort and well-being. Yeah, what's the 321 doing without any toilets? I mean, it's a brand bloody new airplane.
Yeah, that should not be. It should be a no dispatch.
Yeah,
I mean, have at least
200 people without a toilet. That's
you're asking for cuck.
Yeah, so you know exactly what happened there. The pilots would have said, "You're asking for cuck." The pilots would have said, "No, we can't go because this is not on." And obviously being told, no, you have to go. This is the only way we can do it. And the guy's okay.
Yeah.
Watch what happens.
100%.
Hold my beer.
Yeah, well, good on them for proving a point. I mean, flipping hell.
Yeah.
I know how uncomfortable it is to be flying
Pal.
and you can't, yes, man.
Remember those Lubumbashi flights with the CRJ 700, the ones with the one bloody
Toilet
at the back?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a flipping nightmare. It was 70 packs on board.
Yeah.
So 200.
Yes.
No thanks.
I remember that. I mean, it was always like, you need to go just before Top of D because, you're going to be busy and there's weather in Joburg.
Yeah.
So, you want to get that like all out the way in case you have to divert.
Yeah.
And then you get out the door and there's like 10 passengers waiting in line.
Yeah.
You're like,
or the trolley. It was a hack.
It was a hack.
And I had like a bit of a, it wasn't like a superstitious thing, but I had to go to the bathroom before Top of D. I couldn't fly a nice approach if I needed the toilet.
Exactly. No.
So it was a nightmare. And then you end up, no shit.
Oh, no.
Those were the days, pal. Yeah, so you mentioned it earlier on. A lot of strike news, this last week. Striking is going to happen, and it's going to come to South Africa too. I'm telling you now.
I can see it going that
The
way.
airline, you can hear just by the way the guys are talking. Had enough, man. A lot of guys have had enough.
I was reading an article the other day, and the guy that put the article together just plainly said, he said, flight crews are hardful.
Mm-hmm.
There's an overseas article, and it was just, I laughed laughing at it. I mean, reading it is like, it's true. It's going to get to a head now. And I mean, we've seen a lot of it in Europe and the US.
Mm.
It's filtering into Africa. And yeah.
It's going to happen.
What are the airlines going to do about it?
I don't know. Well, let's start with this Kenyan one. I mean, because so Kenya Airways welcome a court decision compelling striking pilots to resume their work for the carriers. They were told they've got to go back. Kenya Airways warns that the company will have to redouble its efforts to restructure and reduce costs and recover the time and money lost. So that's another way of saying to the crew that you're going to work harder and we're going to pay you less. That's all. It's all that they're saying. You just wonder why. I mean, there's been a few adverts out that I'm sure are fake, but basically saying if you can fly a drone, please come and fly for us.
I saw that.
But the reality is that there's just not that many pilots around to sort of fill that void.
No.
Certainly, yeah. So Kenya there always seems to be a few parallels, particularly of late with Kenya and South African. So I haven't heard anything, concrete that there's going to be any South African strikes. We're not saying that, but there is a trend around the world and you watch what's happening, and strikes are being spoken about a hell of a lot more now than they were at the beginning of 2020, aren't they?
Yeah, well, it is definitely prominent. I mean, we're actually seeing it today. It was in the news last 2 days trending that today, being the 10th of November, the customs and immigration staff are all going on strike. So there was warnings of delays
locally
in Joburg. Yeah.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
So, I mean, I know Qantas were putting out warnings telling their passengers that their check-in counters were opening a whole lot earlier to try and accommodate this, get to the airport early, because that's happening. So it's not only pilots, cabin crew. I think it's anyone to do with the aviation and to a certain extent the tourism industry.
Yeah. Well, that's a nightmare. We look at it in Heathrow. So hundreds of workers to strike at Heathrow Airport in the run-up to the Football World Cup. And obviously the demand there, as usual, better pay. Unite said 700 staff who are involved in ground handling, airside transport and cargo and are employed by Dinata and Menzies at Heathrow will strike for 3 days starting on November 18. The strike action will particularly affect Qatar Airways, which has scheduled an additional 10 flights a week during the World Cup. I'm sure Qatar will probably go and buy a company or something there to sort that out. Other airlines that it will affect will be Virgin, Singapore, Cathay, and Emirates. So that's like a major thing. I hope they sort that out, particularly a lot of people planning their travels around the Soccer World Cup. Who's supporting for the World Cup, by the way? Are we going to have a bit of a wager, yeah?
Yeah, look, I haven't quite rolled the dice on that yet. I'll support whoever's winning.
I'm gonna throw a couple of Zara at the.
Are you?
Yeah,
And who you?
makes it more fun. Never. I'm gonna support England on this one. I like some of the younger English guys, I must say. I've never been a big fan of the England team before.
Yeah.
But I do like some of the youngsters on that side now. So I'm going to put a bit of couple of Zara on them.
Okay. I'm feeling Germany, but
Germany's boring because they're always going to be there at the semi and the final.
it's like a safe bet.
Yeah, they're very safe bet. Brazil, Germany. Yeah, it'll be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be nice to. I wonder how many of our mates and that are going there. I think there'll be a lot of air crew around, that time of the year there. So certainly lots more flights. So hopefully some of our listeners get a chance to actually go.
Yeah.
If you do, then let us know. Continuing with the whole strike drama, there's not only in Europe and Africa, Delta as well. There's a bit of an imminent strike there. But their CEO, Ed Bastian, states that Delta pilots will not go on strike this upcoming holiday season. They claim that the vote to strike by the pilots' union is merely a negotiation tactic, which it normally is, to intimidate the airline into conceding during negotiations. The threat to strike comes as the pilot union negotiates a new industry-leading contract for Delta pilots. I'd be interested to know what that industry-leading contract is.
Yeah, and how will that influence
everything else
around the world?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be something keeping an eye on.
Yeah, that's why this one is key.
Yeah.
This one is key because apparently, for people in the know, this is a real old school type of pilot contract with a lot of perks attached. We've spoken about those perks a lot, jump seats and all the rest. And it's sort of, when you read it, apparently it seems sort of quite dated, like what you would have got in the early 90s type of vibe.
Yeah.
And this one is key because it will follow around the rest of the world. If say America has these new contracts and conditions and people around the world still continue flying how they're flying now, there's going to be so much push to try and get to those countries.
Yeah.
That it'll leave a void.
No, it will. And I like the sound of that because, said it before, say it again. I don't think it's all just about money. The guys, I think you'll probably find, and I'm going to wager a bet on it as well, but part of that contract will probably have a lot to do with like roster rules agreements.
No doubt.
More off time, better commuting rules, I suppose, because that's a big problem in the States. The guys that fly the regionals and that have to commute, their lifestyles are shit.
Mm-hmm.
The commuting is just it's crap. And
the guys will say there's a massive difference between flying for a regional and flying for a mainline carrier there.
Yeah.
But the gap, I think, has closed somewhat as the demand for regional pilots has just gone through the roof.
Yeah.
So interesting one to watch. Yeah.
Exciting.
Yep. Emirates, they suspend their flights to Nigeria.
Again.
Mm-hmm. So it said the measure started on October the 29th and blamed its inability to repatriate its revenue from the country. Nigerians are not so happy about it. Yeah, what do you say?
No.
And it has a big impact. Emirates fly a lot of people out of Nigeria every day. And it's a major hub for them. So, yeah, it's going to have an impact, and you hope that they sort that out pretty soon as well.
So just to get clear on that, they are not getting back the money from their tickets sold in Nigeria.
By the sounds of it, yeah.
That's pure business sense.
Yeah, it's just, doing
business there.
Yeah.
Pay me what you owe me, otherwise I'm not coming back.
Yeah. And obviously Nigeria saying that they're being strong-armed by Emirates, but it's a pure business decision. I suppose Emirates, there's so much demand at the moment, they'll use the aircraft that was supposed to go to Lagos somewhere else.
They won't have a problem doing that.
So, I don't see that being sorted out unless they get paid that money back.
Yeah, 100%. Staying with Emirates, I see they've just struck a deal with Boeing for an additional 5 Boeing 777 freighters.
Yes.
So, yeah, they're going big on the freighter side.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's good for Boeing.
It is.
Boeing could use the boost.
Yeah, I actually thought this week we could turn that into the OEMs into the bit of the story of the week because there is a bit of news there, and when you compare Boeing to Airbus on the sales and that, it is quite interesting. It does paint a bit of a story. We'll get to that shortly. Staying with Boeing though, and Ryanair. So Ryanair are going to be sticking those scimitar winglets on their older 737-800s.
Yeah, in an effort to improve the overall fuel efficiency.
Yeah. So 400 Boeing 737-800s in its fleet. So that'll trim a decent amount of fuel.
Yeah.
It covers 409 aircraft and cut fuel burn by 1.5%. Doesn't sound like much, but it's a lot. Ryanair Group revealed a net profit. How's this, Ryan? They revealed a net profit 1.37 billion euros for the 6 months to 30th of September, higher than its last pre-crisis figure. This included 4.9 million euros from Malta Air and 22.4 million from their other group airlines.
After tax. When I read that, I was like, geez, so those guys are doing something right.
That's nuts. So they can afford their scimitar winglets.
Yeah. Look, I was also reading another article where, I mean, some of their operations are being hampered by the slow delivery of the MAX 8 to Airline.
Mm-hmm.
Boeing can't send them aircraft fast enough. And so I think they are going max effort, excuse the pun, to try and trim all the costs on their existing fleet.
So what are you saying? Is a MAX just an 800 with a fancy winglet?
I think the cockpit's a bit different as well.
It's like an upgraded iPad, and it's hardly any different. Jeez. Yeah, made a song and dance about that one. Emirates and Gulf Air, they've firmed up a code share plan.
Yep.
Tell me, these code shares have they just taken over now from these alliances?
I think so.
I think
so. The alliances.
What is an alliance now? Because you've got it doesn't seem these code shares. People, Airlink have got code shares with nearly everyone.
Yeah.
Emirates, geez, half the airlines around the world they've got a code share with. So, yeah, you look at these alliances, you wonder how they actually work.
Yeah, I did. Maybe one of our listeners will be able to chime in on that, but I almost see it as being a bit more of a hindrance, being part of an alliance at the moment.
Yeah.
If you look at that whole, was it British Airways wanting to line up with SAA or SAA wanting to line up with British Airways, but the alliance would be an issue, no doubt.
Yeah.
So they'll probably turn it into a code share.
Yeah, no doubt it will be. There was an interesting one with Cathay, Ryan. So Asia is opening up at this stage, but Cathay, they fly to New York, right? Now they were doing a bit of a polar route to avoid Russia.
Yes.
Now they've just laughed that off. They're flying through Russian airspace, no doubt with Americans on board. And if that aircraft had to divert or something, I don't think the Americans would be too charmed about that.
Yeah.
But they've got code share with some American airlines. Those have now been pulled. So American pulled their code share from Cathay because they're flying straight through Russian airspace. But it seems a bit absurd, that one. But I had a chuckle at this. So the headline is Hong Kong scraps quarantine. So obviously we're talking about Hong Kong here, not Cathay, but we kind of always talk to them hand in hand. Arrivals now only need to self-monitor for 3 days from arrival at a place of their choice. They do not have to isolate during this time, but may be restricted from accessing places like bars or restaurants. Visitors no longer need to provide a proof of a negative PCR test, but have to obtain a negative rapid antigen test within 24 hours before departure from Hong Kong. Arrivals must still undergo a PCR test on days 2, 4, and 6 after arrival, in addition to a rapid antigen test every day of the week. Japan's done away with its requirement for a negative COVID test. So good there. Taiwan 2 scrap mandatory quarantine for arrivals from October 13th. So that Hong Kong thing is still as draconian can be.
Oh no, it's just crazy, man. And look, I suppose on one side, there is an effort for them to, rebound and start working a bit better like the rest of the Western world. But it's been slow, man.
No, it's crazy, man.
Slow.
I don't understand how they can be so backward in that regard. It just seems absolutely nuts. But good to see with that Japan is opening up. Had a few guys out at the Sim Center the last couple of weeks that are due to go back to Japan. They're speaking confidently that they'll be back there soon. So nice to see that some of our local South African guys are going to get a chance to go back very shortly.
On that note with Cathay, I do know of a few guys that are actually headed to Cathay. Start dates as early as next year.
Yep.
So it's happening.
Yeah.
Like
no
we said
doubt.
it would. But
Yeah. It is going to happen. Spoke about the World Cup earlier.
yeah.
You can watch some of those matches live, Paul?
You can?
Yeah. On the airplane.
Oh, they're actually making that available.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you can actually watch those live on the plane. Quite nice. The Sport 24 broadcasts every moment of the 2022 FIFA World Cup on board approximately 400 aircraft worldwide, thanks to its in-flight channels.
I wonder if that's going to be a paid service or if they're going to do that for free. I was actually speaking to someone short while ago who flies a Legacy, and they were saying the Wi-Fi costs on that Airy to run for them is around $4 a meg.
$4 a meg.
Yeah.
That's pretty close.
It's quite well there.
Yeah. An interesting one here. I've got a good friend of mine who's pretty involved on the military side of things. And, there was a big air show in China over the past couple of weeks. So this company basically builds UAVs.
Yes.
Okay, for the military there. This air show was at Zhuhai, as it's called, and they've built Chinese Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation. They were displaying what they call a loyal wingman concept at this air show.
Okay.
So this isn't a UAV that basically flies by itself. It's one that flies with another manned aircraft, but is there to protect the manned aircraft in the event that you are going to be attacked. So quite a nice idea. And apparently this machine is legit. So the air show was based heavily around the concept of this new fancy concept of a UAV. Pretty cool to see.
That's pretty legit. So it's like flying with a watchdog right next to you.
Yeah, apparently it just sits there, so it can basically follow you. So if you have it, I don't know what a wingman would be, about 45 degrees behind the wing or whatever, and at a certain distance, and it just looks behind all the time for any threats. So very clever. It's not carrying a huge a payload, but it's quite a thing apparently. And there is quite a nice video on YouTube that I had a look for it this morning because I tried to wanted to put the link in the show notes, but I haven't seen it there. I think it got taken down.
Pretty cool. Eh?
Yeah, pretty cool.
Talk about things being innovative. I don't know if you saw this one, but Japan's All Nippon Airlines, they're turning used seat covers into limited edition slippers. So another Christmas present idea if you want this year. But
if you've ever seen one.
They've announced a program to create limited edition slippers from used seat covers. This upcycling initiative came from employees as an innovative way to recycle items that would usually be discarded in mass.
That does seem rather innovative.
But I mean, imagine a pair of slippers. Can't get that word right today. Slippers.
Yeah.
Made out of seat covers.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that a bit manky?
It is a bit manky. Did you ever see there was a video that was saying where to sit on an aircraft? I always choose an aisle seat.
Yeah.
And then I think it was on Discovery Channel. And they have one of those cameras where they go down through the galley or through the aircraft, and they show where all the dirt and all the shit is on the plane.
It's on an aisle seat.
It's on an aisle seat. Why? Because every single passenger touches those headrests on the way down.
Yeah. All the bigger ones, their backsides are
exactly
while they're trying to like shove their luggage into.
So you got the back, you got the side there with the backsides, and you got the headrest with every single person's hand touching that thing, and they've been sitting in the bloody airport all day, dirty as hell. So yeah, if you want the cleaner seat, the aisle's not the way to go. Just a bit of inside gen there.
You talk like that. Coming back from Paris now, I ended up with a window seat for the first time, because I was the same. I always take the aisle seat because my cheap Korean bladder doesn't hold for very long. So always had the aisle seat normally. But I took the window on the way back from Paris, and actually wasn't that bad.
It worked out nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe got up once or twice.
Yeah.
Look, I had a couple of mates next to me, so it was easy to say.
I could hear you snoring.
The whole flipping airplane could hear me snoring.
Yeah, but look, it is something to consider. A lot of people go for the aisle because they don't like to interrupt anyone else. But if hygiene is your number one priority, avoid that aisle seat. We'll call that this week's advisory, shall we? Something else on the innovative side, Lufthansa. They've just launched their virtual reality cockpit training for 320s.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Lufthansa launches Airbus's virtual reality cockpit training for the 320 fleet, and this can potentially change a lot of things. So a lot of the procedural training will be used this way, meaning that if you and I are sim partners, you can actually be at home, I can be at my home, and we can actually meet inside the 320 flight deck, and we can go through our procedures.
That's a game changer.
It's a game changer. From a procedural training point of view, it's a game changer.
Absolutely. I mean, we see it here all the time. It's very important for the crews as sim partners to get together, spend time in front of the paper tiger, and just rehearse. Because it's vital if you want to be successful in the sim. And the fact that you can sit at home now, connect virtually, put your goggles on, and go through stuff in the comfort of your own home.
Yes.
At any given time. Yeah. What a pleasure.
What a pleasure, yeah. Hey? So it's very cool, and if you want to look more into that, go and have a look, because it's coming, and it's going to be mainstream. We've spoken about it a lot here at Samero in the training environment. Where do you which direction do you go? And obviously something like this doesn't come cheap either. Software and hardware like this, it's almost comparable at this stage to the simulator itself. But as you just said, look how much time is spent on paper tigers and things like that, training procedurally. Now, if you've got something a little bit more advanced and that can tie into the AR side. So if you look at a particular switch, you can actually access what system it is, where it's being powered from, and the QRH sort of reference.
Yeah.
So you can pick up a lot of information just by looking somewhere. So it really is a game changer, and it'll be interesting to see how that affects training, not just at the airline level, but all the way through. Having that procedural, training concept. Look, you're going to need your own headset. I'm sure the airlines like Lufthansa are going to provide, but most airlines, you're going to need your own headset. It's going to have to be tied into some sort of infrastructure, the Meta infrastructure or wherever. So it's not just a plug and play thing. This is a long-term something we're looking at. It's not going to be overnight, but it is coming, and be interesting to watch.
No, look, it's exciting. Really, it really is exciting. I mean, I love that kind of stuff because, we into that. And, just the layers of knowledge that you can get out of a platform like that. And I suppose if someone's going to look at being penny wise and pound foolish, the costs versus expense benefit of driving out to somewhere, wasting petrol, time, etc., spend the bucks on a program like that.
Yeah.
And saves you time, the effort of transport.
Something to watch. However, there's a flip side of the argument. Yeah. Because 5 years ago, when the Oculus came out and everyone said everything's going VR, the games soon, you're going to be immersed in this. You're not even going to be able to tell the difference between real life and this game. That hasn't happened.
Yeah, there's still a lot to.
There's still a hell of a lot to go. I mean, it is coming, and they are going to get better. But it's definitely slowed in that the realism aspect is not there.
No.
So if you think you're going to sit in this flight deck and everything's going to be perfect, it's not. It's still going to look like a game, and there are still blanks. You look quickly to the one side, and you're going to see just a black space, and then it will fill up eventually.
Yeah.
But look, it's something to keep your eye on for sure.
I suppose it's got a lot to do with waiting for the whole VR and AR aspect
to
catch
merge.
up with each other.
Interestingly though, the AR side is for me the exciting side.
Yeah.
The glasses, having the whole AR, because with that now, so from an aviation perspective, you can actually have, say, these glasses in the flight deck, and I'm talking operationally now. I'm not talking about training. You could have those glasses or goggles, whatever you want to call them, basically your own little head-up display with the QRH and checklists and everything there without having to physically pull up a checklist.
Yeah.
Quite. So, yeah, there's a few things coming on the AR side.
Yeah, it's very cool, man.
Yeah. Let's go backwards a bit, yeah? Back to something a bit pathetic. KLM, they could terminate up to 30 destinations in its network if the Dutch government proceeds with plans to impose a green cap at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport. So they've got a green cap, meaning that there will be a limited amount of flight movements, a maximum of 440,000 a year. That is a significant reduction from the current 500,000 flight movements. The cap's intended to reduce noise pollution and carbon emissions. The airline argued that fleet renewal offers a much better alternative than capacity reduction, and that reduced airport capacity will not benefit travellers, the broader network, or the Netherlands in general. Also notes that the cap will restrict the earning capacity of airlines wanting to invest in sustainability, as if airlines have not been through enough.
Yeah, well, I don't think the Netherlands are the only country in Europe that are looking at that. I understand, and I've heard rumors, but France is also looking at imposing short-haul flights. Anything that can be covered by a train in under 2.5 hours.
Yes.
Yet. No airplane.
Yeah, no airplane.
So it is.
Ryan, I can't understand, I mean, surely.
Can you imagine this?
It's like a real woke bullshit, this one. I mean, it just seems ludicrous. The other day, I think it was last week, a huge group of Greenpeace, actually someone wrote it on Facebook, his words, not mine, a huge group of Greenpeace tossers somehow managed to gain access to the GA ramp at Schiphol, cause multiple diversions, which totally negates their supposed cause, including a critical medevac flight. Those flights which they were supposedly blocking still went ahead. So they just caused a diversion, and then the flight still happened. So it has a total opposite effect.
No, it's not.
Yeah, no, there's just no room for bullshit like that in aviation.
No, not by a long shot.
Yeah. Go tie yourself to a tree. Stay the fuck away from an aeroplane. Can we get to this OEM stuff? I find it quite interesting in terms of the numbers.
100%.
So we'll start with Airbus. Airbus records strong single-aisle order during October. That includes 59 320neos. They were for IAG, and an agreement for 28 321neos for an undisclosed customer. Chinese operator Xiamen, they've booked 25 320neos, 15 321s, and Jet2 ordered 35 320neos. So all narrow-body stuff. Air Canada lifted the month's activity with its agreement for 15 220-300s. Airbus acknowledged 14 cancellations comprising 11 320neos and 3 321 Neojets. Adjustments mean that the airframer's net order for the 10 months of the year reaching 810. Their long-haul side is shifting from 2 to 3 330neos and from 5 to 6 350s, upping the production there. Airbus has delivered 497 aircraft so far this year, including 60 in October, and is maintaining its target of 700 over the whole of 2022. So aircraft are being delivered, and particularly from Airbus. How many bloody narrow bodies there? 320s and 321s. Quite remarkable. Hey?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Really nuts. If you shift that now to Boeing, the headline, Boeing announced today that it delivered 35 aircraft in October, down from 51 in September, due to that 737 fuselage flaw. You see there's a AD out for the 737. So for the first time, though, since July 2019, this is remarkable. Since July 2019, the American manufacturer did not lose orders through cancellation. So of the 35 aircraft delivered in October, 23 were 73s. And for the first 9 months of 2022, Boeing delivered 363 planes, and almost 300 included the MAX 8 and 9 variants of the 737. Boeing's backlog, now I read this twice and I checked it on another website. Boeing's backlog now sits at 4,441 aircraft.
What?
And 3,590 are for MAX variants. The popular Dreamliner backlog sits at 420 aircraft. There are 318 777s in the backlog. Next, a 767 with 111. And finally, the Queen of the Skies, the 747, has 2 remaining deliveries before the program is fully closed. Hey?
No, man.
How are those numbers?
Jeez.
And as I say, there's that directive out on November the 9th. FAA put out an airworthiness directive for select models of the 737, something to do with the skin, I believe. An AD is like a recall on a car, basically. If you're certain cars in a certain year get an airbag light that comes on, you take your car in, and BMW will fix that for free. Aviation, not so much. The airlines must pay. And this has been the whole thing that the Emirates big boss has been fighting all along. To say, if you go buy yourself a BMW and it's got a flaw, BMW will take it back and fix it.
Exactly.
With an aircraft, you stuck with that product, and you must then pay for the AD. Meanwhile, it's actually a manufacturing design fault. So quite remarkable.
I have to agree with the Emirates boss there.
I totally agree.
It's actually a bullshit system that. I mean,
they've got away with it for so long.
It's like with any product you go and buy. If you take a phone or a TV or a computer or something, if there's a flaw, you take it back. As long as it's within a certain warranty, fixed or replaced.
Yeah.
But it should be the same for Aries, man.
It should, yeah. It's pretty crazy. Just on the Embraer side, Embraer has stripped 31 E175s from its backlog after U.S. regional carrier Republic Airways cancelled the orders. The manufacturer confirms Republic has reduced the number of 175s on order from 100 to 69, reflecting that Embraer calls a joint decision between the two companies. Republic they do the flying for American Eagle.
Yes.
Yeah, so they've also been hit hard by the pilot shortage, I suppose. So that would play a major role in them wanting to cancel a few orders. And then been in the news a bit the last few weeks. We've mentioned them on the show. The Chinese side of things, Comac has clinched commitments for 300 C919 narrow bodies from a group of 7 lessors. So it's a pretty big investment there. Hey, that also comprises of 30 ARJ21 regional aircraft.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's an ugly airplane, that.
That's a real thing.
They say if an airplane looks pretty, she flies pretty.
Shit, yeah.
That thing must fly like a
dog's
balls.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't look the best.
No.
But they're going to sell a lot of those things. But yeah, anyway, call it the story of our week because it does sort of paint a picture. But how reliant is Boeing on the MAX? Everything is about the MAX. And you might look back, in 15 years' time at this whole thing and say, the MAX turns out to be one of Boeing's, one of the most successful aircraft ever.
But they also depend on the MAX because the 777X program has been a real turd.
No, it's been a shock. The 787 was a bit of a minger of an aeroplane as well.
Yeah, so
that MAX is but it's all about the narrow bodies, man.
Yeah, It's
all about narrow bodies. The long haul stuff, I mean, even look at Airbus. It's so minimal that they all their manufacturing and everything is based around the narrow body side of things.
Yeah. I think what will spin off from that as well is you'll see, look, that Sonic thing has gone quiet for a bit. But the narrow body, there's still going to be a big shift towards supersonic flight.
You reckon?
I reckon.
But where's it going to go?
I don't know.
You know, like, there was the one question asked, made sense with the Concorde, you know, but where are you going to operate the supersonic aircraft?
On the longer routes, man. I mean, these 16-hour ULR flights are pretty crap. So
the longer route, they're going to have to be over the sea.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have engines. Well, first of all, there's no one that's committed to making those engines. So no manufacturers jumped up to say, we're going to make them for this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's maybe why it's gone so quiet.
Yeah, maybe.
But I think it will be, not in the near future, but
in the future.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Hundreds.
I need to apologize to a few listeners because my editing wasn't quite up to speed last week. I still don't actually know what went wrong. You normally have two files that get uploaded. One is your sort of the file that you edited, and the other one is your edited file, and it's supposed to take the edited file that gets sent out. And for some reason, the other one got sent out. So I think about 30 or so people heard us chatting between when we were swapping seats when we were talking to Jared.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So luckily we didn't say anything too bad. But yeah, I do apologize there. Won't be a problem this week. Yeah, when you're piecing in different bits of audio into one file, it does get a little bit complicated there.
Yeah.
There was quite a lot of work involved in piecing together last week's show. So, apologies for that. But if you do want to listen to that one, the audio now is the right one.
100%.
So go listen to that one. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, that was chatting to Jared about the whole Flightline logbook. Well worth it. 3 months free. You can check it out. Link in the show notes. And also want to give another punt, Ryan. I think it's worth it. We've got to support old Craig with his Project Aviation diary because it's a cool diary. You and I saw it. And you're the discount man. 10%. Bryan Air 10. If you put that in, you get 10% off. And it really is cheap as chips, really. It's going to a good cause. Well worth it. All the aviation events, your FDP, aircraft registrations, you name it, it's all in there. So well worth it on dig4sa.co.za.
I totally agree. And then, on the advisory side as well, I know you probably got one coming up, but Craig did mention it. If you're using the Aviation 4SA app, you'll see that they've got a little button in there that makes for some exciting coin tossing in the cockpit.
Yes.
So, you hit it and you can basically have a coin toss. What's always the decisions like who's flying this sector?
You can choose whatever you want. So you can plug it in there. You know, there's always a big thing. Which sector do you want to fly?
Yes.
And then if you're really flying with a real tosser captain, you'll choose one and then he'll say, no, you're doing the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how much fuel do you want to take? 4 tons. No, let's take 4.2. One of those captains. Yeah. But so now you can actually, very cool. Actually, let's make that this week's advisory, Ryan.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool feature on the app, and a nice way to keep yourself entertained in the flight deck. Just rally everything to the coin toss, and
Yeah, that's a nice addition. I thought very cool. So you can write in there whatever you want. Who is going to fly the first sector, and then
just
click spin, and it chooses it for you. So there's no hard feelings when you plant it into a very windy, dark East London late at night.
Well, remember those days of flying, and you check the forecast, and you're like, shit. I hope the captain lets me choose a sector, and you're like, you try and go for the easy ones.
Yeah,
and. He's like, no, I think you'll do the sector to PE, and you can check the winds gusting 500 knots.
Yeah, that is a cool one.
But
I like that idea. So that's on the Aviation 4SA app. CIA is their website sorted out, by the way?
I don't know. Given up looking, but their website has crashed so many times.
You just don't trust it anymore.
Screw it.
Yeah,
just use the app.
No, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
But there was an article out about the CIA being more sort of customer centric now, so they've got this whole sort of customer vibe, and this website is supposed to be sort of part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
But it is a hell of a lot easier to find what you need on Aviation 4SA.
Yeah, exactly. And we like it because we know where it comes from, who's behind it,
yes,
and
the amount of work and effort that's in. It's been a lot of work.
Yeah,
and not easy to get all that data on there. So if you're flying around in South Africa, it's a bit of a no-brainer to have that.
Yeah, there were a few bugs and whatever that they fixed up, but yeah, it works really well. So
it does. Good job, Craig and team. Ryan, as always, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a joy, pal. Thanks, man. Only a few more left for the year.
Yeah.
So we'll keep rolling them out, and yeah.
Much needed break on the horizon.
Looking forward to it.
Indeed. Have a good week ahead, everyone. Goodbye for now.
Ciao.
In this frequency, 28 right, echo, cleared for takeoff. 28 right, echo, cleared for takeoff, runway heading, range with limit 3660. Yeah, 204, 28 right, echo, line up and wait. 28 right, echo, line up and wait, now at 204. EC40 103, contact Chicago departure. Good morning. That was 553, uniform, so left heading 250 and on another turn. Left heading 250, yes, 553, uniform. Tower runway 3494 for now, stand November short of Echo, and we'll work that out. You can expect the full length for departure. November short of Echo, over 3494. Skywest 553, uniform, turn left heading 220 and contact Chicago departure. Left heading 220, contact departure, Skywest 553, uniform. Yeah, 204, fighting 270, 28 right, Echo, cleared for takeoff. Okay, 28 right, and Echo, cleared for takeoff, heading 270, United 204. Scout 5169.